Hi everyone. Welcome to my channel, Secrets Behind the Stars. All the details are in my video. If you enjoy it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to Secrets Behind the Stars. You can support me even more by clicking the join button below. Thank you, and let's watch my video. For years, audiences in Turkey and the Spanish-speaking world were charmed by the heat and tenderness that Yağmur, Yüksel and Barış Baktaş projected whenever they shared a frame. Their spark felt like a fresh, modern fairy tale, born under studio lights, nourished by glances that lingered a second too long, by laughter in rehearsal breaks, by silences that carried the weight of a promise. And then came time, that tireless current that changes shorelines and rearranges hearts. It carried them off to different continents of life, work, ambition. They moved on, at least in public. Yet there was always this hum beneath everything whenever their names were said together, a vibration no one could fully explain, as if an invisible string still tugged between them. Today that quiet hum became a storm. After years of tidy silence, of red carpets where nothing more than a polite nod was exchanged, of fans convincing themselves that the chapter was closed, a single line has blasted through the entertainment world. Yağmur Yüksel has broken her silence with the phrase that ricocheted across timelines and phones in a matter of seconds: Barış, come to your senses. It's short, it's sharp, and it carries the weight of 1,000 unspoken pages. The words leaked from a private conversation, something whispered within a small circle that somehow found its way into 1,000 ears. And what a tremor they set off. According to those present, Yağmur's voice trembled, not with rage but with a tenderness so raw it sounded like a confession. This isn't the Barış I knew. He's not the man who shared that stage of our lives with me, she said, and in that moment the boundary between past and present blurred in a way that made everyone listening lean in. For the first time, perhaps, the audience sensed that the distance between them had never been a clean break. They had shown one another professional respect after their parting, a grace their admirers always applauded. But it turns out there were questions that never found answers, memories that flickered like open wounds, and a sorrow that survived beneath the smiles. Her most direct criticism, the one that split the room into defenders and accusers, arrived when she alluded to the turbulent Italian romance that's trailed Barış Baktaş in recent months. The headlines loved it. The glossy premieres, the camera-friendly dinners, the getaway weekends, the yacht decks in the haze of summer. It looked spectacular, the stuff of magazines and curated feeds. But in Yağmur's telling, the image is a polished lie with sharp corners. Fame is a burden. And fake love destroys you, she murmured, and those words echoed in every corner of the internet. She hinted that this story, glowing in the press like a fairy tale, has the fingerprints of strategic planning all over it. To her, it felt like a contract disguised as destiny. His career was always his pride. But this relationship seems like a trap to dim his light, she said with a steadiness that didn't sound like jealousy. It sounded like someone protecting a flame she knows better than anyone. Then came the moment that softened even the most cynical hearts. She spoke of his parents, that quiet sanctuary in any storm. Her voice nearly dissolved into a whisper of recognition and respect. His mother and father mean so much to me. I don't want them to suffer. No one loves him as much as they do. Barış, listen to your parents. They would never hurt you. A plea like that doesn't come from nowhere. It pulled back a curtain on rumors that had been tiptoeing around the edges for months, word that the family was never fully convinced by the Italian romance. In private corridors, a sentence supposedly dropped like a stone into the well of gossip: we don't trust that woman. And with Yağmur's appeal, that rumor no longer felt like a shadow, it felt like a figure standing in the doorway. Her message hit in two different ways. For some, it sounded like a last, desperate call from someone who still feels connected to the man she once matched stride for stride. For others, it was something more ordinary and more noble, a human act from someone who shared a long road, who knows his vulnerabilities, and who can't bear to see them exploited. Yet about one thing the online world almost agreed: her concern is real. It's not a stunt. It is heavy, and it is true. She didn't stop there. The dam had broken, and years of unspoken thoughts poured out. I met the real Barış, she continued. The man who looked at the world like it was still worth falling in love with every morning. The one who didn't let the empty allure of fame swallow him whole. The man with fire in his eyes. That Barış is gone now. And it hurts me to see him like this. In living rooms and cafes, people went quiet as they listened. You could hear keys clacking as translators carried her words from Turkish into Spanish and back again, while comments rolled like waves across oceans. Everyone could feel it, the ache of the past and the throb of the present colliding in one fragile speech. The theories multiplied, as they always do. Italian media insisted that the pressure on him had intensified beyond anything he'd ever faced. New projects stacking up like dominoes, brand obligations carving his schedule into pieces, the endless requirement to act perfect in an imperfect life. Others suggested something less visible and more universal, that he was facing a soft, private weather system of the heart, the kind that can make a person do unrecognizable things and turn toward stories that promise attention while starving the soul. People reached for meaning because he gave them none. Yes, through all of this noise, the one voice missing was the only one that could quiet the room. Barış Baktaş stayed silent. No statement. No story. No late-night notes on a screen for fans to parse like horoscopes. Nothing. And somehow, the nothing felt louder than a press conference. Friends close to him, or at least people who claim they are, said that Yağmur's words struck deeper than he expected. They told tales of sleepless nights, of long walks, of phone calls that didn't end so much as fade into the small hours. Because when something comes from someone who once stood closest to your pulse, it slips past armor. Even time can't build a wall high enough to block that. And then, the line that will write itself into the story of Turkish entertainment in permanent ink. Yağmur closed with a soft, careful valediction. Your life is yours, Barış. I'm not the one to guide you. But I know that light in your eyes well. Don't let it go out. It is not advice. It is not spite. It is not a love letter. It is every one of those and something else besides. A flare shot into the sky just before nightfall, a farewell that wants desperately not to be won, a hand reaching from a distant shore. As you'd expect, that last echo unleashed the question that has been sitting in the corners of so many minds. Is Yağmur speaking from affection, from nostalgia? Or from a love that never fully died? You can find a theory to match any heart. Some insist this is the proof of a bond that never snapped, a thread stronger than pride. Others believe it is her closing the door with grace, after years of letting it hang open in a draft. But what no one can deny is the electricity that surges whenever their names land in the same sentence. A generation remembers what they were when they were together. A generation wonders if the story will find a coda it deserves. You can't talk about them without talking about what they became to people. Their on-screen era didn't just make a show brilliant, it carried fans through exams and breakups, holidays and lonely Sundays. It leapt borders, slipped from Turkish into Spanish and back, and became a shared language of tenderness. And now we stand at a crossroads illuminated by two possible lights. Will Barış answer this call in some form that grants clarity to millions? Will he turn to face the mirror everyone keeps lifting to him and confront what so many claim is his most personal conflict? Or will he let the silence thicken and harden around him and allow her words to dissolve into the collective memory? There is something else to consider. Even if the Italian romance has all the glamour money can buy, there is a difference between love that feeds you and love that feeds the wolves at your door. This is what some fans think Yağmur was pointing to. That the public version of a life can glitter like a stage while the private person stumbles just out of the spotlight, not sure where the edge is. Imagine living in that friction, the long corridor between the applause and the hotel room door. That is where choices feel heavy and guidance feels far away. That is where a single familiar voice can sound like a lighthouse. And what of the family whose names she didn't speak, out of a respect that felt palpable even in a leak? The parents who taught him to find his center, who stood quietly at premieres and clapped from the far rows. The words, "Listen to your parents," were the stanza that made certain listeners swallow hard. Not because she was dragging anyone into the fray, but because she was pointing toward the one place that has no agenda. The rumor mill swirled around them, like it always does, with the old refrain, "We don't trust that woman," reported by some as a whisper that wouldn't die. Whether or not that sentence was ever spoken aloud, it has become part of the legend now. Meanwhile, in Spain, in Mexico, in Argentina, in Chile, in every corner where their scenes were posted with subtitles and rewatched until the edges were frayed, people debated the meaning of her plea. Was it outrage dressed in velvet? Was it a final wave from the shore before she turned and walked on? Or was it something braver, a refusal to let a person she once loved vanish into the machinery that eats people alive? These questions don't require an answer to matter. They put a mirror up to anyone who has ever watched a friend lose themselves and wished their words could guide them back. We should say this too, sometimes the silence from one side isn't indifference. Sometimes it is the only tool a person has to avoid turning a private reckoning into a public spectacle. Maybe Barış is taking stock. Maybe he's figuring out which thread to pull first in a knot that took months to form. Maybe he's learning how to tell the truth to himself before he tells it to anyone else. The people who claim proximity say he's thinking more than he's speaking and sleeping less than he's pretending. Whether that is true or just another campfire tale, we will know soon enough. But there's no timeline on healing. There is only the echo of her last line, humming in every room where his name is spoken. "Your life is yours," she said, making space for him to own it, to hold it, to steer it away from hungry cameras and toward the places that once lit him from within. Don't let it go out. That's the sentence that refuses to fade, the one that fans have already stitched into edits and captions, the one that makes even strangers stop and wonder if they've let their own light dim. Dear Spanish audience, what do you think? Does Yağmur still carry a torch for him, a flame that never truly died? Or is this simply a warning, born of care, from someone who knows the cost of fame when it drifts into fantasy? Tell me how you read it, how you remember them, and what you hope happens next. And while you're here, remember something very important: subscribe to Secrets Behind the Stars, turn on notifications, and if you'd like to support us even more, click join to help us keep creating the best stories about your favorite Turkish stars. Which celebrity would you like us to investigate next? Who will be the next Turkish celebrity you want to see featured on our channel? Thank you so much for watching my video. See you in the next one. Take care and goodbye.